Okay, so before we begin this episode of the Nerdcast, I would like to encourage everyone that if you enjoy this episode, to share it with all your friends on social media. This way, we are able to help grow the community here in Edmonton and keep everyone up to date on the latest news and information regarding the geeky, nerdy people groups and events that happen in and around the city of Edmonton. Also, if you or someone you know would like to be featured on our show, please feel free to contact us over at northernernetwork.com. Now, on with the show. Okay, so welcome back to another edition of the Nerdcast. My name is Dan Schessel, and on today's edition of the Nerdcast, we have, of course, the one, the only, Chelsea Thompson. Say hello.
Hi, guys.
We also have joining us today, we have a very special guest with us today. We have Graham from Almost Infinite.
Hi.
Say hello.
Hello.
All right. And this is where the whole show falls apart. as I try to replug everything back in and switch everything back, because we are super smooth, right? Yeah.
Well,
All right.
it's not. It's your setup is also getting more and more pared down the closer and closer you get to T-minus move day. So
Yes. We are here at the Nerdcast studio. As you noticed, we packed up all the giant monitors that were behind us earlier. The Minion, he's in a box somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. And by Nerdcast Studios, we
yeah.
mean Trina and Dan's basement, because we're super classy on this show like that.
Oh yeah. So we are very, very close. We have less than a week here left in this place, which is exciting and scary at the same time. And so we are, yeah.
And I'll be in Edmonton in like 2 weeks, and I'll get
to
come crash your new house. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Yes. So that's sort of what's happening, a little bit of what's in my life, but we're just gonna skip that part for right now. And like I say, we like to start off every episode by starting off with the really hard hitting questions. So Graham, how was your week?
It's been good. I was just saying, adulting takes a fair amount of time. Hearing about your move, and I'm getting married in just over a month, so planning
Congratulations.
is kind of eating a lot of the spare time that I would have for other things. But it's exciting. Looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Now, I have to ask: does your significant other play games with you?
Some yes and some no. She has definitely joined us in the whole like tabletop and board gaming stuff.
Yeah,
isn't really into the video games all that much, but
yeah, I don't think I can get Trina into playing many video games on our side. But I have got her to play RPGs, and I've got her to play like board games and stuff. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and certainly if I had the choice, I mean, having someone to play tabletop with you like that's what I would choose out of anything else for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
that's awesome. So Chelsea,
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
Well, yeah, my week was pretty good. I mean, last week's episode, I was away from. You had our good friend Marcus on to chat about some stuff, which was lots of fun. But I was away for that one. So yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've had a chat and a little catch up. My weeks have been pretty good, just working here and there and some days off to try and catch up on some errands and some chores. And actually, yesterday I had a super fun day yesterday.
Ooh.
So, as many of our viewers and listeners know, one of my hobbies is stage and screen combat. And I've talked at length, actually, about a couple of the workshops that I've been to and whatnot. And so through the jigs and the reels, a couple of wonderful ladies who I know through Fight Directors Canada and training with them, Nathania and Sylvie, who are friends of mine who live in Vancouver, who also do the fighty stuff. Know a couple of gentlemen who were shooting a short film over the weekend. Specifically yesterday, they were shooting a big chunk of it. And the gentlemen were looking for some ladies who could fight to join the production. And Nathania was unavailable and Sylvie was unavailable, but they kept tossing out names. And eventually, down the Facebook message chain, my name got tossed out. And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything on Saturday. And I'm a lady who fights. And fighting people for fakesies is always super fun. Sure, why not? So yesterday, I spent my day on set of this independent short, Office Nerf Warfare. So I got to spend the day toting Nerf guns and fake beating people up and dying over dramatically, and it was just a ton of fun.
Wow. So okay, I'm gonna have to find this whenever it's finished.
So yeah, when it comes out, I promise I will post it on the Northern Nerd page for all of our viewers and listeners to watch, and you can all laugh at my shenanigans. But it was a super fun day on set. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So for myself, yesterday, I was supposed to, they wanted me to come into work on the weekend. And I had to politely decline for yesterday. And the reason was because my oldest son, he had a dance show yesterday.
He's an amazing hip hop dancer.
Yes. So he had his hip hop dance. Now, I was very close to just going to work and just because money is pretty awesome, but my kids are better, right? And so I'm so glad I stayed at home and I watched him because I mean. My goodness. Now, I must say right before we begin this, I do have a slight bias towards my boy because he is pretty awesome, and he's my boy. But I would like to point out the fact that there were 3 boys. Now, in dance, from what I've noticed, is it's 98 or 99% women or girls, and 1% boys. There's very little. So in his class, they got 3 boys, and I don't know how many girls. There's a half a dozen of them or more girls in his class. And so for them, because there's 3 of them, he was always in the center doing all the big moves in the middle. He was definitely the show. Now, the way it was, the dance was set up was that he was meant to be sort of like a player kind of kid. He's all that, he's really playing it up, with all the ladies and stuff like that.
The dude.
Yeah, and he's dressed up as a total nerd, which is super cute. He's got the suspenders, the bow tie, the white shirt and khaki shorts. Oh, it was perfect. And so they're doing this dance, and at one point the boys had to shuffle off the stage while the girls did their dance. But here's my boy. Now, from what I was told from afterwards that he was supposed to be doing this, but here he is poking his head out from the side of the curtain, winking and waving at the crowd and blowing kisses at everybody. I'm like,
hamming it up.
super hammy. Like, I mean, oh my goodness, he was hilarious. I was dying. I'm like, what is happening with this? And then at one point, he like totally crashes into the scene, and like while the girls are dancing, he's doing his own little thing. Like, I'm like, what is going on? Ah, it was great. It was so good. He was perfect. Yeah, like I said, I do have a slight bias to my own son, but I mean, it was pretty fun to watch. The other thing we did
as an outside third party,
yes,
I will vouch for the fact that Neo is pretty awesome.
He is. And if you guys go back into some of our videos, especially for the Calgary, the Edmonton Expo, sorry.
Free Comic Book Day. He is,
Free Comic Book Day.
You can see him as an interviewer, and he's pretty great.
Yeah, he's pretty special, that one. So that's that. We also did a little bit of a walkthrough through our house, which makes me even more excited to move. So, oops. Yeah.
Good
so
week.
I'm super happy. I'm really tired because of all the boxes and all the packing I've been doing here. And now I've got stuff that I need, and I'm like, I have no idea where it is. And so yeah, like it's gonna be a crazy next little while, that's for sure.
But it'll be totally worth it.
I think so. Yeah. So, anyways, and now Trina, my lovely wife, has bailed on me. She left me tonight
for a good cause.
Yes. She left me to go watch Wonder Woman without me. Yeah. So she is out with the ladies tonight.
I saw it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask without you spoiling it for all our wonderful viewers out there, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I'm very glad that I went early to see it on the Thursday. I feel like, considering the offerings of the DC cinematic universe that have come out in the recent past, this definitely raises the bar. I feel like the next movies coming out of the gate from DC are going to have to like really kick it up a notch to sort of keep
to play on this level,
to keep pace with what they've set for themselves now. I mean, I have some aesthetic things from the movie where it's kind of like, oh, I wish they might have done this instead, or oh, I wish they might have done that instead. But overall, I really appreciated the story as an origin story. I really appreciate the lens that they told the story through, and I really think they captured the roots and the essence, and at the end of the day, it comes down to the heart of Wonder Woman, right? And that was really, really apparent in the movie. I think the biggest thing I appreciate, and this is something that I read in a review that talked about sort of the difference between Marvel superheroes and DC superheroes. And Marvel superheroes, because so many of them focus on mutants and things like that, that their superheroes are very much flawed humans, right? Yep. We have Wolverine and we have Iron Man, who are, you know, by some measure, potentially ostensibly terrible people, who sometimes make terrible decisions and do horrible things, right? Mm-hmm. So we have these heroes who are just flawed people, whereas DC really, really had its heyday in the Gold and Silver Age comics in the 40s and the 50s, and their characters are very much grounded in those roots of their, you know, Superman and Wonder Woman, who are a demigod and an alien, are very much not humans. They're the paragons of what humans could be, right? The leaders of humanity.
What they could live up to be, right?
What humans could become if they embraced the goodness that exists in all of them. And so this story really captured those like Gold and Silver Age comic roots of, you know, Wonder Woman as this paragon that has so much heart, you know, striving to be a mirror for what the rest of humanity could live up to. And I really appreciate that they sort of captured that from the original comics.
Awesome. Well, I am super excited to go and check that out. I really want to go and see that at some point. We will see what's going to happen in the next little while.
You're not the only one. My fiance is also going for like a girls' night out for that. So I think it's kind of a common thing that
I think a lot of women are doing that.
A bunch of guys, who would otherwise have dates are going, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like my friend Marcus, who was on the show last week, he sent his wife out with another bunch of girls, and it seems to be a fairly common thread.
But I think it might actually be kind of cool, right? If all of these wives and girlfriends are going in groups of girls, I think it might actually be a really cool thing then to create these counter giant clusters of guys going on their own to see the movie, and what it means for large groups of men to be going together to see this female-centric superhero movie, which I think is the really great sort of counterbalance to all of these women who are going to see it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm going to go, and I'm probably going to go with Marcus. I'm hoping so anyways. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a bunch of us guys going to see this movie. So here's hoping. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I really want to check this out. I think it's going to be a great movie. I'd love to see the what it's all about. And yeah, I'm excited. And I haven't been excited for a DC movie for quite a while. I've been so burnt by them. So anyways, like I said, this is a live video right now. So if you are watching, or if you are listening to this later on, you guys can join us for this, and we do this every week, right on Sunday o'clock. Yeah, we do this on Sunday o'clock. No, we do this every Sunday, except for next Sunday. And
because you're moving.
I'm moving, and I won't have internet. Sadly, we're gonna be like, we got the internet guy coming in on Friday, and then he just got to come back, and I'm like, oh, I want my internet. I don't care what you have to do. Just put it in my house.
But when you watch and listen to us live, we love to hear from you. If you type in questions or comments, they pop up on Dan's screen and he can read them out loud, especially when we have awesome guests like Graham, who we're going to start grilling with the most amazing questions. If you feel like you have a burning question that you need to ask that we're missing, type it in and we'll totally ask our wonderful guests who are held hostage with us for this hour, and we'll gladly answer your questions as well.
Yes. So tonight, like I said earlier, we do have Graham from Almost Infinite joining us. And so I'm just going to start off by asking Graham here, what is Almost Infinite?
Well, it's my blog, is the shortest answer to that question. The reason for the project is that I wanted a creative outlet, and I thought, well, I have some thoughts about games, and I was starting to work with that idea, and as I sort of talked about in my first post, I just sort of tripped over this like obscure philosophy text that was just in my house that was sort of about games in the philosophical sense. Read it, I'm like, hey, this is kind of interesting. So between those two things, philosophy, the kind of games I like to play that we consider recreational games, and then sort of relating some sort of things we don't really think of as games per se, but are in a philosophical sense. So political, economic stuff that you can sort of recognize the characteristics of a game, even though it's not something we sit down and play. So sort of with those three things in mind, I decided that it's if I wanted to be someone who gets ever gets paid to write publish stuff, like it's something that I can do on my own terms. Show up every week. Show to myself and everyone else that I can show up. So that's really how it started. And then I've just been going every week since. I haven't missed any weeks since I started. I decided to publish mostly on Saturdays at noon. I've been a couple hours late a couple times, but I haven't actually.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like I said, it is some something that really didn't start with a super grand mission. It was more I want to start putting some ideas out there and stick to something. So yeah, it's been good to explore different things, and put something out there that I think is unique, because that was the other thing too. Is I see that a lot of people just sharing their games about opinions about games, and I'm not trying to be amateur Kotaku or Waypoint or whatever. Like I do want to put some ideas out there, not just this is good, this is bad, I like this, I don't like this, kind of review kind of stuff.
So, how long have you been doing this for then?
Started in May 2015, so just over a year.
And we like to ask everyone sort of like the origin, like why did you want to do this kind of thing? Like why did you say, hey, people need to hear what I have to say?
Well, I think it comes from the fact that I'm an opinionated person. I like to sit down and discuss ideas. That's a thing I do with my friends. Recreationally. So it's something. Hey, I could put something out there, and yeah, if people are liking what I'm putting out there, then I can look at doing some bigger projects using that as my springboard.
So. And in feeling like you needed a creative outlet to sort of talk about the games and things that you're passionate about, I'm always interested, especially when somebody sort of chooses a specific platform like us on YouTube doing videos or podcasts or blogging or, creating shorts or experimenting and trying to make games of their own, whatever sort of medium they choose. I always find it really interesting. Did you find that what drew you to blogging specifically over other mediums sort of that are so prevalent in nerd and geek culture?
A few things. I mean, one of them is just sort of where my skills are. I'm not as good a speaker as I'm a writer. That's part of it, and partly accessibility as well. The fact that I did, when I was setting up the blog, make sure that it was one of the WordPress themes that's accessibility ready. Like I want it to be something where it can be read on a phone. Not something that someone has to really like sit down and
slog through.
And just I didn't have a lot of didn't have a lot of equipment on hand. It just seemed like the easiest way to get into it. Why a blog versus a podcast, I guess.
Have you found it's made it easier? You mentioned, with your friends who are also gamers, that you really like to have discussions with them and debate, mechanics and the more philosophical side of the story that you might be campaigning through. Have you found that the blog format helps facilitate that you find people leave comments or engage in discussion, that, even though we have people can type in questions when they're watching us live, that it's a little more easier to sort of facilitate that sort of conversation discussion that you like so much?
Yeah, well, I don't get a lot of it on the website right now. I mean, I'd love it if people left more comments, but I think what it really helps with is when you've got sort of the right amount of content for a blog post, which I'm usually around 1,000 words plus or minus a couple hundred, but for something of that length, it's not something that goes well on like a Facebook comment or a tweet or something like that. So I think it is partly that I can go into some detail about what I've been thinking about without making it a giant wall of text that no one's going to read. Like it's easy to sort of keep it contained in a digestible format and still have the time to actually go into what I want to say about it this week.
Yeah.
Like you use a lot of pictures and other things to kind of like get your point across.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you consciously do? You're like, I should have like some visuals as well when I'm doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just like something you've just put in there just because it just kind of goes with what you're saying?
Well, I certainly try my best to make it relevant, not like, here's a picture of someone rolling dice. But it is that I'm very conscious of like the visual design that I just hate getting hit by walls of text on the internet.
Yeah.
And so the choice of visual theme, the choice of the pictures, where they go, it is really about keeping the flow of the text more digestible. That's the easiest word I can think of. But yeah, it is very much a conscious effort to break it up a little bit to make it easier to read.
So now, we always like to ask on the show, your blog being about all things gaming related. Mm-hmm. We love origin stories on the show. So how and when and where did gaming sort of become part of your life? What got you interested in games, both board games, tabletop games, video games? What sparked that interest for you?
Mm-hmm. I don't have a crazy unique origin story, but it is the case that growing up, my dad was in IT before that was a huge thing. In the 80s, early 90s, and so we were the family that always had the computer at home before that was a thing, and so it was seeing my dad get into Ultima Underworld or and things like that, and just being sort of a thing in the house, from an early age, and when it wasn't very common. I think probably the thing that inspired me the most was just being a teenage gamer and getting my hands on a copy of a game called Baldur's Gate. And that was what really got me interested in Dungeons and Dragons. It would be several years before I actually found a group and sat down and played. But that was, the experience of playing that game was sort of what really got me into games that involve more thinking than Wolfenstein and Doom and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go through your blog, is there something that you always seem to come back to? I noticed that you talk a lot about Eve or D&D. Is there other stuff that you like to come back to like quite a bit throughout your blog?
Sort of the original themes, like the book that sort of inspired me to start the blog. I do come back to sort of like the it's not really game theory like in like the mathematical sense, but like the game philosophy stuff is something that I haven't I don't always talk about directly, but something that hopefully I'll be able to come back to a little bit more. But yeah, definitely there are some some games that stand out as these are things that I'm going to be writing about. So whether I say tabletop in general, just because I don't want to exclude World of Darkness and like the similar stuff. So there's that, and Eve is fascinating. I could do an entire thing just talking about that. But yeah, it's there are a few of those that I'd be revisiting every once in a while, just because I find them interesting. There's not a lot of design into that.
So when you talk about, let's say, D&D, what are some of the themes or some of the things like you tackle while you're talking about that?
Well, the thing that makes D&D and similar games so interesting to me is that they don't have the same sort of limits that other games do, and that's really why I think that's the sort of game that can make you think, that can make you feel, that where ideas matter. Like that's something that makes it really interesting to me. So that's why I'm going to talk about it.
But like when you are actually talking about it in your blog, what kind of themes do you touch on? Like, are you talking to like GMs, or are you just generally just saying, "Hey, this is the experience I had playing this"?
I don't do a lot of like mechanical type stuff. So I haven't really got down into this is what I think of Fifth Ed and the way they roll dice. Like that's not something that I've gotten into. But yeah, I would say that I would be talking at both DMs and players really about the experience and and ideas. Like one of my favorite posts that I wrote was addressing death and violence. How the kind of twisted way that traditional D&D awards experience. So really having the discussion of rather than just keeping on doing that, saying, hey, you know what, is this the sort of game we want to play? What could be done differently, I guess.
That's awesome.
So more philosophical questions that you were talking about.
Yeah, precisely. And in general, I really want to talk more about the ideas, the philosophy, and the experience of playing the game, much more so than I think that this mechanic is bunk. Like that's not really where I want to go with it.
That's awesome. Okay, so let me ask you then, when you play D&D, how do you like to, like, what kind of characters do you typically play? Do you like to be one of those fighty type people, or are you more the kind of the talky kind of guy?
I do make an effort to change it up. In terms of like those mechanical things. So because I'm the sort of person who when I create a character, like it's not an avatar of myself. Like there are some people in my regular group, they're going to play essentially the same character in in any given setting, any given game, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. We like playing with them. But for me, I take a little bit of a different approach. Is that my characters are not me. They're all me, like a little bit, because they have to be. But like I conceive of them as like a fictional character, like I'm writing a story. Mm-hmm. So that's why I try and do a variety of things. Whether that's sort of the quiet, reserved person, or the my best impression of Tony Stark in a fantasy setting. Like, so it's so I try and change it up, sort of based on, what I've come up with as the as what the character is that I'm playing. So that's kind of the way I approach those things. So I don't play one type of character every time.
But now, in all of your years of playing, do you find that there are specific races or classes that you gravitate towards specifically to help sort of facilitate that more sort of expanded, delving into deeper sort of philosophical approaches to the game? Do you find that there are specific races or classes that sort of facilitate that type of gameplay a little better?
I wouldn't say that there is some really heavy influence on that. Coming from my perspective, okay, I'm gonna I want to write about this later. I'm gonna choose something that's interesting. I would like as far as races and classes and stuff goes, like I do tend, even in something like Dungeons and Dragons, where you've got this huge variety, and especially if you're using supplements, you've got just like literally anything is a playable race. I'm not the sort of person who's going to like super specialize and be like a fire genocide or something like really crazy like that. I do gravitate towards like human and human like races, like to because like the more relatable the character, the more I enjoy it. Like I try to make them not an avatar of myself, but as someone I can relate to. So for instance, in I was playing in a Beast campaign. That's a variant on World of Darkness, where the characters each have sort of a human form and like this like eldritch beast kind of form, and mine was I described it basically as Slenderman because I was more intrigued by a monster who wears a suit and tie than I was something with lots of fangs and tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly when I'm DMing, I might have dragons in there somehow doing their thing. But if I'm designing a villain, my instinct, my what I gravitate to are like humans and elves with like nasty agendas. I am far more intrigued by villains who are pretty and wear a nice suit rather than have lots of fangs and tentacles. So that's kind of both the villains I come up with as well as sort of my player characters. I tend not to be super different than whatever is sort of like an average person in that setting.
So would you think of that then as sort of your signature, for lack of a better term, your signature style, whether it's super deliberate or not, that you're looking for those ways to sort of subvert the usual typical approach to what you would see coming at you in a game like that?
Yeah. I don't think it's always a subversion. Yeah, it's definitely a stylistic choice. I do play in a group with one of our guys. Has sort of the opposite approach, where if everyone else is like human, elf, half elf, he's going to be the guy who insists on being a half fire giant, half minotaur.
As big and ugly and tentacled and fanged as it can get.
And like, still vaguely a person, but like you have to use a loose definition of the term person sometimes. But it is more of a stylistic choice. I don't put I put a little bit of thought into it, but it is more of a stylistic choice than like a philosophical choice, I guess.
Nice.
Awesome.
And I have also played a number of games where the storyteller or DM has tried changing it up a bit and handing us characters to play, and that's a lot of fun too. Where I don't get to come up with all the everything, the race, the abilities, the backstory. Sometimes I've had that handed to me, and it's interesting to play along in those as well.
I play Star Wars D&D with Dan and a number of our friends, and I'm currently playing a character that Dan built for me that I'm in love with. So sometimes it is kind of nice. So you get the build, and even when someone's put together the backstory and the character, as soon as you get your hands on it, you always find opportunities to sort of make it your own, even when someone else has handed it to you. And I have really loved finding that balance between, the choices that Dan made in building it and finding ways to, in
incorporate
gameplay,
it as yourself.
Yeah, finding ways to make it my own. So thanks, Dan, for building me such an awesome character. I love her.
I've done that for many of our players in our group. I always for me, that's a big challenge. I'm like, okay, so this person's coming in and trying to think about how this person is and seeing, okay, trying to hit that sweet spot with every one of the characters. Like, I think he's gonna really want to fight a lot, or he's gonna really want to do this kind of thing, and trying to make a character accordingly for everybody. It's sometimes a neat and hard and sometimes painstaking thing to do. But sometimes it's pretty worth it when people go, oh, this is awesome and this is so much fun.
Well, I feel like you're really good at it. You built some great characters for a bunch of the people that we play with. And I feel like a lot of that is also informed. I enjoy very much your GMing style. And I feel like you also take that into account, knowing sort of all the machinations that are happening behind the curtain. You can look at our team as a whole and say, oh, well, we're missing somebody who sort of slots into, we're missing somebody who fills this gap in the team, or we're missing somebody who fills that gap in the team. And you balance really well sort of the people coming to play at the table versus the campaign that we're on. So, yeah.
So, just before we sort of end this this conversation, I really want to ask you, what other, like you said you play Eve a lot, right? What kind of like other video games or other games do you tend to play a bit more than others, maybe, other than D&D?
Yeah. Saying one plays Eve a lot is a very relative term. Some people make a full-time job of that. I am.
Yeah, this is true.
I'm super casual compared to like anyone who takes that game seriously. But I mean, other than my regular standbys, I'm also a bit of a Civ addict. Anyone who plays Civ knows, what that game can eat your free time. Like, it becomes like, oh, I have video game time.
Yeah, just one more turn. I'll be okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
At 3:00 in the morning, you're like, oh my goodness, what'd I do?
Yep. And and more recently, I've been getting into some of like the smaller like indie stuff that I've found on Steam that people have recommended to me by word of mouth, or I've read about it online. Over the past year, Undertale was a fantastic discovery. Anyone who hasn't done that, please do. So like some of those like walking simulator type things, have been kind of interesting. So yeah, and then over Christmas, I've picked up a huge backlog of like so again, more of those like small indie games that are kind of neat, Transistor, Paper Please, like that have I've heard are really cool, but I haven't gotten onto a lot of them yet.
Papers, Please is one of those ones where I'm like, oh, I really should have tried that one. I still want to go back and try it. I think that sounds like a fun game.
But yeah, I got a pile of stuff in my backlog because there's just so much out there now. Like trying to stay on top of what's new is a full-time job by itself. So and that's why I take the approach I do to blogging about stuff I find interesting. Is I can go back through the back catalog and go, oh, I haven't written anything about Psychonauts, and that was really cool. I can pick that up now. I don't have to worry about staying current. When I'm not trying to be news, when I'm just going through and writing about stuff that I find interesting.
Awesome.
And I always like to ask our fellow nerds on the show, because I'm always looking to hear what other people like to sort of add to my own list of things to check out. What is it that you are playing now or have played recently, or is there anything sort of in the last little bit that you played or tried that's really like knocked your socks off or made you, oh yeah, like it's gotten you excited about?
Yeah, like what can you recommend to everybody out there that's maybe watching or listening to this? Like, you should try this thing. This is pretty awesome, and you may not know about it.
I don't have a lot of super secret things like that. I sort of already mentioned. I mean, the last time I had my mind completely blown by a game was like a year ago, and that was when I found Undertale. Like that was, it is one of those things where I feel like almost everyone has at least heard of it, but as far as games that have blown me away, that's the number one recommendation I would say. Another one that was kind of fun it's called Moirai. That's Moirai. And you can get it through Steam. I think you can download it without that either. Also, I guess is the word for that. But it's kind of a neat game. Another it's very, very retro graphics. But it's another one of those games where you should not look up the walkthroughs or anything that people are saying about it. Go play it, then look up the stuff. Now it's really not a game.
It's very pixel arty and very weird looking.
Yeah, and it's not a game that you're going to spend a lot of time doing. If you dawdle and look at everything, you might spend 20 minutes playing it, maybe. So it's really more of an idea in game form than it is like a game that you are going to play and revisit. But it's kind of neat.
And it's free.
And it's free. There's also that.
Yeah, it is free on Steam. If you go on Steam, you can go get it for free. It's an interesting looking game. I can tell you that right now. It looks kind of like Farm Simulator or whatever that one. Remember that farm game that we used to play on Facebook? Except for now, it's just a little bit lower, and you can look.
Yeah, and like I said, there is a bunch of stuff in my queue that I just haven't gotten to yet. Things like Firewatch, I heard was a pretty cool experience, but I haven't done it yet. So
awesome. All right, so where can people find you, sort of like on the web or whatever?
Right. Well, primarily www.almostinfinite.ca. That's where the blog lives. I have a Twitter and Facebook page linked to there. If people want to look that up as a way to follow it. But yeah, that's where I do all the gaming project stuff. Would be on the web on the blog.
Awesome. Well, we're going to switch gears here for just a moment as we talk a little bit about the upcoming events in the city of Edmonton. So first off on the list, we have a cosplay life drawing event. Now, this is being held at Happy Harbor Comics on June 10th, which is a day I cannot do anything on because I'll be moving. So this is happening at Happy Harbor. It is going to be on from 1:30 till 9. Tickets are available at happyharborcomics.com. And yes, it's basically I think there's two sessions that are happening. So it's basically it's a good way to, if you're into like drawing and you want a nice live model to draw, there will be one there. So go check this out.
Presumably in some cosplay for you to practice drawing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good way to get and not only that, it's a good way to meet a lot of people who are in the industry in the area, or trying to break into it and really get those connections kind of going. So yeah, it's a great event. Go check it out. This is at Happy Harbor Comics, cosplay life drawing event on June 10th. You can go on our website, northernernetwork.com, and you can find all the information there underneath the upcoming events tab. Next up on the list, I would like to mention that the Edmonton is having its Pride Parade on June 10th as well.
And technically we're into June now, so it's Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yes. And so, yes, the Edmonton Pride Parade is on June 10th. Just look up Pride Parade. You'll find so much information on that.
It's such an amazing celebration. If you've never gone to the Edmonton Pride Parade, you should go. It's such a wonderful day.
Yep. So that's that. And then we're moving along. We got the Edmonton Collector Con on Sunday, June 11th. My goodness. June 10th,
full
June 11th.
Weekend.
It's a full weekend of awesome stuff that I cannot attend any of it. It's so sad. I really want to go to the Collector Con.
Moving is the most fun thing in the world, isn't it?
It does not like completely interrupt your life. And,
and not just moving with two small children.
Yes.
For the win.
Which is okay. So here's our plan. Just to pause everything because that's what we do. We're shipping the kids off. They are going with grandma and Poppy. They are going camping. Go camping. Have fun. Because they're getting older. They can't move a whole lot, but they really want to help out. And so we're like, you can help out by having our children for the weekend.
That's
have fun.
That's brilliant parenting in action right there.
That right there. So now when they come home, they're coming home to the new home.
To the brand new house.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun for them once they get back. Camping and then a new house. And a new bunk bed.
Woo!
Yeah. So we got, like I said earlier, the Edmonton Collector Con. This is happening at the Italian Cultural Center. And this is happening on June 11th from 10 o'clock to 4. Admission is $5. Kids under 12 are free. Please bring a food bank donation. Support the food bank.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a place to drop that food off there. And if you are looking for any of those like awesome, cool collectibles, this is the place to get it. Trust me.
Yep.
All right, moving along. Game Master Support Group, Mystery Theater. This is happening at Variant Edition on June 15th, Thursday, from 6 o'clock to 7:30. And this is basically a Game Master Support Group here in Edmonton. So if you are a GM of any game, like either Star Wars RPG or D&D or Pathfinder, whatever you want to say, this is the place to go. Like if you really want to get together with some other GMs and talk about just stuff that's pertaining to how to make your game better.
Ways to improve your campaign building, all that good stuff.
Yes, this is the place to go. Check it out. Thursday, June 15th at Variant Edition. And one final one I'd like to mention, and this is a little bit further down the list. are down the ways. This is in August, and this is Fragapalooza. This is going on for 4 days of gaming, and the reason why I like to say this one is because they are a nice proud partner of the Northern Nerd Network. So they are part of our network. And not only that, their gaming event is second to none. I mean, if you want an awesome gaming weekend where people are all coming together from all over the place and converging on one location, this is it. This is happening in Leduc, the Recreation Center. And it is a 4-day nonstop video gaming extravaganza. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I know a lot of people like camp out in the area and or in the building. I don't know all the details about all that kind of stuff, but go check it out. Tickets are on sale. Go to fragapalooza.com or again to our website northernnetwork.com, and you'll find underneath the upcoming events tab. In
Dan
August.
puts all the good stuff there. Go check it out.
Go check it out. All right, that is it. Graham, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Like, this is awesome. You were great, and I know I've been saying we should have you on the show for like forever.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us.
My pleasure.
Yes, I'm so glad you were finally able to make it. I'm so glad we actually had some time to actually get you to come on.
We always, I say this a lot on this show, but it always bears repeating. We wouldn't exist without awesome people in the community like you. And so anytime we have a guest on the show, it's always so awesome, meeting people who are, and I use this word a lot, but so passionate about the things that they find so interesting and, the stuff that really gets them going. And so we love having people like you on to talk about that and share that with all of our listeners and viewers. And, it really helps grow the community in Edmonton of just amazing, nerdy people that are out there. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Awesome.
And thanks for having me. It's been great.
And we always, you're always writing and finding new stuff to put on your blog. And we always say, we love to have checkbacks in. So, hopefully sometime again in the near future, we will be able to have you on again to chat more about what you've been up to.
Sure. Yeah. I love to talk about this, the stuff that I find interesting. So, I appreciate getting the time, and it helps people discover the blog that might not have otherwise heard of it. So I appreciate that too. So
awesome. So go and check out almostinfinite.com, correct?
.ca.
.ca. Sorry.
Because I'm Canadian.
Yes. Canada.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So almostinfinite.ca. So go check that out. Thank you again for coming on to the show. That is it. That is all. I want to thank everybody out there for watching or listening, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye. Come on, Dan. Outro dance.
All right. We want to thank everyone who listens to this show and ask everyone if you can share it with your friends on social media. The Northern Nerdcast is produced by myself, along with Chelsea Thompson and Trina Schessel. And that's all the time we have. And I want to thank everyone for listening and watching this edition of the Nerdcast. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.